Hello, dear friends. Welcome to our exciting and captivating channel. Let's get started. Throughout history, the world has witnessed a plethora of tricksters who unveiled extraordinary and fantastical abilities in deception, eloquence, and deceit. However, some of them excelled in selling illusions to an astonishing degree. One such individual takes center stage in today's episode, a character who pushed the boundaries of reason and rationality. He was a master of 5 languages, flawlessly so. He adopted 45 different identities, effortlessly. He sold a magical box that generated wealth for dozens. And astonishingly, he sold the Eiffel Tower twice. He was arrested multiple times, yet managed to escape jail while awaiting trial. But his story ultimately met a tragic end behind bars. Who was this enigmatic man? How did he develop his skills in deception and fraud? And what was the culmination of his tale? Stay tuned, my friends, as we delve into the complete story. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our latest content. You can further support the channel on Patreon through the link in the description box, enabling us to continue bringing you exciting and fresh content. Your support makes a significant difference for us. Victor Lustig and the beginnings. Born in the Czech Republic on January 4, 1890, Victor came into this world to a humble family. From a young age, he made a vow that he would not live a life of poverty like his relatives. He quickly became fascinated with the sleight of hand tricks used by magicians with playing cards. Mastering these card tricks, he turned his childhood fascination into a profession of dexterity. He left school and ventured into gambling halls, where he applied his sleight of hand and deception skills even in games of chance. By his 20s, he had moved to Paris, where he honed his craft of street theft with finesse and agility. Eventually, he set his sights on the ocean liners departing from France to New York, ushering in a new era of deceit. At this stage, he adopted the name Victor Lustig. In reality, no one knows if this was his real name or just one of the many aliases he used. Count Victor Lustig. Among the affluent passengers aboard these transatlantic voyages, Count Victor Lustig was a name to be reckoned with, exuding an air of elegance, eloquence, and possessing the handsome appearance to match. Despite his young age, still in his early 20s, he had a knack for convincing the wealthy travelers that he was a Broadway producer. In those days, Broadway was one of the most famous theater and arts districts in America. With his suave charm, Lustig would persuade the affluent passengers to invest in upcoming musical productions he claimed to be producing. Many of these wealthy individuals eagerly poured their money into these seemingly promising ventures, unaware of the elaborate scheme unfolding before them. For a considerable time, he moved between Paris and New York, continuing to persuade the rich to invest in his artistic endeavors. However, the outbreak of World War I would change everything. These transatlantic voyages became scarce, if not practically non-existent, due to the dangers of ocean travel during wartime. It was at this point that Lustig decided to employ a new form of deception. What was this new scheme he concocted? Stay with us, dear friends, as we unravel this intriguing tale together. The Roman money box. Victor made a decision to stay in America, specifically in the city of Kansas. But this time, he wasn't alone. He had found a partner named Dan Collins. Together, they devised a new method of deception. It was a simple wooden box, but they designed it in a way that made it appear to be a complex mechanical contraption. They claimed that this box could duplicate currency notes. However, there was one catch. It took 6 hours for the box to print a single bill, and then it needed 12 hours of rest before it could produce another. They would explain the workings of the box to their customer, then ask for $100. After 6 hours, they would produce the same $100 that the customer had given them and return it. They would then take another $100 that they had previously placed elsewhere and accompany the customer to the bank. The bank would accept it without any issues, of course, as it was a legitimate banknote, not counterfeit. Here, they would offer the customer the opportunity to purchase the box for thousands of dollars, claiming that they were in a hurry and couldn't wait 18 hours each time to print $100. During those 18 hours, while the customer waited for counterfeit money, Victor and Dan had ample opportunity to disappear. No customer dared to report them to the police, as it would be an admission of attempting to counterfeit money. Did Victor settle for this? Certainly not. Stay with us, my friends, to find out more. World War I bonds. In the year 1922, Victor walked into the American Savings Bank in Missouri, assuming a new identity under the name Robert Default. He presented the bank with World War I financial bonds valued at $32,000 in exchange for a cash payment of $10,000. These documents were official government papers, but they required time to mature. After bank employees examined the documents and confirmed their authenticity, Victor was in their sights. But what did Victor do, my friends? Do you know? With his sleight of hand, Victor managed to deceive the bank staff and swapped the genuine documents with counterfeits at the very moment of delivery. Thus, he walked away with the $10,000 in addition to the original bonds. When the bank discovered the trickery, they hired private investigators to track down Victor. And indeed, they found him in the city of Kansas. However, with his wit, Victor persuaded them that his arrest would pose a problem for the bank. If this story were to spread, the bank would lose the trust of its customers. Did the bank's management fall for this ruse? What do you think, my friends? Yes, they did. The bank's management bought into Victor's argument, choosing to buy his silence and keep the story under wraps. They gave him $1,000 out of the $10,000 he had deceived them into giving him, taking only $9,000 in return. Have you ever heard of a con artist as audacious as this before, my friends? It's said that Victor was apprehended over 40 times by people he had swindled or by the police, yet each time, he managed to escape the charges with his cunning and wit. After his notoriety began to grow, and his ability to deceive weakened, Victor decided to return to Paris once again. It was there that he executed the most famous swindle in history. Do you know what it is, my friends? Stay with us to uncover the most renowned trick of Victor's career. The sale of the Eiffel Tower. In the year 1925, as Victor sipped his coffee and perused the newspaper, he came across an intriguing headline. It read that the Eiffel Tower was in dire need of major repairs, and the authorities in Paris were lamenting the regular maintenance costs of the iconic structure. There was even public sentiment suggesting that it might be dismantled and disposed of as scrap metal. Now, my friends, this might seem like just another news article. But for Victor, it was anything but ordinary. You see, Victor had a rather audacious idea. He thought about selling the Eiffel Tower. Yes, you heard me right. Selling the Eiffel Tower. He decided to approach some wealthy metal dealers secretly. Victor told them that the government had decided to dismantle the tower and sell off the metals it was made of as scrap. To add credibility, he forged documents portraying himself as a corrupt government official working in a ministry. Next, he reached out to 6 affluent metal dealers and invited them to a secret meeting at the luxurious Hotel de Crillon, one of Paris's grandest hotels to this day. There, he presented them with the documents detailing the sale of the Eiffel Tower, all under the guise of being a government official. He informed them that the government was looking to dispose of the Eiffel Tower and sell the metals resulting from its dismantling. He claimed to have been tasked with selecting the most suitable buyer, and he assured them that the government wanted to keep the matter confidential, as it hadn't been made public yet. To further convince them, Victor rented a luxurious car and took those dealers on a tour around the Eiffel Tower itself. During this meeting, Victor managed to pick his prey, a metal dealer named André Busson. Busson was chosen for several reasons, primarily because of his weak character and his small, struggling company. However, there was one obstacle in Victor's path. Busson's wife had suspicions about the whole affair. To distract Busson, Victor met him privately and confessed to being a corrupt government official. He offered to ensure Busson's selection as the buyer, in exchange for a bribe. Busson agreed without much hesitation. It's said that Victor received a total sum of 70,000 French francs between the sale and the bribe. After receiving the money, he immediately headed to Vienna, Austria, where he checked into a hotel and waited to see what would become of the Eiffel Tower sale scam. However, no news or reports about the deception were ever published. It's likely that André Busson chose not to report the incident to the police, as an operation of this nature would have undoubtedly destroyed his company and reputation. At this point, Victor decided to return to Paris and sell the Eiffel Tower once again. Yes, my friends, you heard it correctly, he attempted to sell the tower a second time. In the same year, Victor returned to Paris and repeated the same steps, this time with a new group of metal dealers. He selected the right person among them and carried out the same corrupt government official ruse. But this time, the dealer informed the police after realizing that he had fallen victim to a fraudulent sale. Upon learning that the police were searching for him, Victor boarded the first ship bound for America. Did Victor stop there? Of course not. Stay with us, my friends, to find out more. Playing with the Mafia. After his arrival in America, Victor decided to embark on a daring new scheme. But who would be his target this time? Victor's quarry this time was none other than Al Capone, the infamous mafia boss of Chicago. However, this time, the trick was unlike any he had pulled before. He approached Al Capone and requested a sum of $50,000 for a new swindle. Victor promised to double the amount for Al Capone and take a share of the operation's profits. Surprisingly, Al Capone agreed to his request and handed over the $50,000. Of course, my friends, Victor was not foolish enough to take the money and run, for he knew well that if Al Capone ever discovered his deceit, he would not hesitate to end him. What did Victor do? Victor took the money and deposited it in the bank. After a period of time, he retrieved the funds and informed Al Capone that the swindle had failed, and he had lost the entire $50,000. But Victor gathered all he possessed and borrowed the missing amount to repay Al Capone in full, asking for forgiveness and understanding. Al Capone was moved by what Victor had done. He sensed an individual of loyalty and sincerity standing before him, qualities he had been searching for. So, he asked Al Capone for help, having lost everything he had. In response, Al Capone gave him $5,000 as a token of appreciation for his honesty and loyalty. The last con. Victor's spree of deceit continued across the United States. In the year 1930, he embarked on a counterfeiting operation, and he had partners in this endeavor. The first partner was a chemist named Tom Shaw, and the second was a sculptor named William Watts. This operation was so successful that they managed to distribute over $1 million within a single year. They cleverly introduced this fake money into the state's economy, making it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to trace, as it mingled with legitimate funds. This triggered a massive response from all the state's security agencies, including the FBI. Investigators and undercover agents began unraveling the threads that could lead them to the culprits. They managed to track down several individuals used by the partners to spread the counterfeit money, even uncovering the Roman money box ruse. During this time, Victor used the money box trick on a corrupt Texas police officer. When the officer discovered the trick, he didn't dare expose Victor. Instead, Victor convinced the officer that he had used the money box incorrectly and wanted to compensate him. He returned the price of the money box and added extra as compensation. The corrupt police officer agreed to Victor's offer. However, when the officer attempted to deposit the money in the bank, he was apprehended because the money was counterfeit. After questioning, he confessed to everything. This led the police to Victor, and they arrested him on May 10, 1935, with counterfeit money and counterfeiting tools in his possession. This time, Victor's intelligence couldn't save him. But, do you think the story ends here? Certainly not. Victor's ambitions were far from being shattered by prison walls. The facility where Victor found himself, awaiting trial, was no impregnable fortress. It was just a government-owned building used to hold prisoners before their trials. During his time of confinement, Victor noticed that they didn't keep track of the number of blankets distributed to inmates. Seizing this opportunity, Victor collected enough blankets to fashion a makeshift rope. Then, on September 1, 1935, just a day before his trial, Victor made his move. He managed to cut through the iron bars of a bathroom window and crafted a rope out of the blankets. To avoid drawing attention from passers-by, he pretended to be cleaning the windows of the building. In this manner, he successfully made his escape. However, this time, the FBI managed to apprehend him just a month after his escape. Victor faced trial in November of the same year and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But this time, it wasn't an ordinary prison. It was Alcatraz, the notorious penitentiary perched on a small island and considered the most formidable prison in America at the time. We'll delve into one of the most famous escape and disappearance stories from this prison in an upcoming episode. Victor spent several years imprisoned until he began suffering from illnesses, which went largely ignored, as they assumed it was just another one of his tricks. His life as the legendary con artist came to an end in 1947 due to a bout of pneumonia. Victor's story, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, remains one of the most astonishing tales of wit and deception that defied conventional logic. History is brimming with such stories. What are your thoughts on Victor's story, my friends? Do you know of any con artists of this caliber? I eagerly await your opinions and comments on this topic. Stay well, and don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Support the channel on Patreon through the link in the description. Your support makes a difference, allowing us to continue sharing intriguing and novel stories with you. Stay tuned for more very soon.